Brittany, welcome back to the podcast, mate. Episode 42. It's been almost...
Thanks for having me back. I must have been half decent.
Oh, it's always good to have a returning guest. And I mean, you're not doing anything else that's going to fill your time, so why not spend an hour talking with me?
Yeah, well, something's got to cover the time, I guess. You'll do the job.
And I just saw your mug just then. Is that your dogs on there? Your little German Shepherds?
Yeah, this is Mello.
Yeah.
Named after Carmelo Anthony because my partner is Mello Crazy. And this is Marshall, named after none other than Marshall Mathers, Slim Shady.
Oh, wow. And I guess from last year, they had puppies. Is that right? You had puppies?
Yeah, they had pups. Literally the day after my surgery, the pups went to their new homes, which was pretty handy. Meant that there was one less thing for Ryan to worry about looking after. So he's just got me, Mello, and Marshall to wait on at the moment.
Do you intentionally breed dogs, or is that just an accident?
Nah, quite the story. So my dad and my stepmom were always like, no dogs, you know, that whole saga. And then me, Ryan, and Mello, who is the female, all moved in with my dad and my stepmom a little while ago, and they became obsessed with her. And they just wanted to keep her so badly, and were like, nah, not happening. Me and Ryan went to Darwin for a little bit, and both my dogs stayed with them.
Yeah.
And they just became obsessed. Like, they didn't want to give them back, and they were just completely off it. And then we're sort of like, you're not having our dogs. And they're like, well, we really want dogs. And then there was just a lot of people who sort of were in love with sort of the way Marshall looked and the way Mello acted and whatever. And we're sort of like, oh, maybe if everyone wants to get a German Shepherd, we should just know where they've come from and do it.
Mm.
Anyway, didn't realize that it was actually as much work as it was and whatnot. So we decided to let him have a litter of pups just so that my dad could have one of my good mates could have one. Somebody from Ryan's family was going to have one originally, but sort of circumstances didn't allow it. So yeah, we ended up with pups, and they came the week of round 2 of the season, which is good fun. And yeah, they just left a couple of weeks ago. But I tell you what, after probably the first 3 weeks, it was so much fun.
All right.
And if you're going to ask, I will never do it again.
I guess the first 3 weeks are just all making sure they stay alive.
Yeah, literally. It's so much hard work. Truthfully, considering my dad and stepmom were sort of the masterminds behind it, I probably just should have made them do all the hard work.
That's a good point. So, what's the labour like? Do you know they were going to have the babies then? Because obviously they don't speak English, so they couldn't tell you, I've been paying about to have a baby.
Mello started acting real weird. She was trying to hide behind the couch and, scratching at the floor. And sort of Ryan had done all the stuff to know how everything goes.
Yeah, right.
I hate, the human body. I hate blood. I hate, any of that stuff. So I was like, I'm not touching them. I'm not doing any of that. You do the hard work. I'll enjoy the puppies. Anyway, so Mello starts giving birth, and Ryan's just standing at the door, hand over his face, and just gone into complete panic mode. So I've had to go into nurse mode, trying not to vomit up this, blood. But Mello was just a natural. She knew what she was doing. And then there were 2 left to come, and I had to go to training.
Oh.
So I had to call my best mate and say, you've got to come and help Ryan. So then Ryan took over the role of nurse, and my best mate apparently was just sitting here, and she was just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, the whole entire time. So those 2 together are an absolute shit show.
Oh,
but
God, that's hilarious.
They did the job, and everyone arrived safely. And yeah, like I said, I will never, ever do that again.
Oh, wow. Well, I had almost my own similar experience. Just over a week ago. My baby boy was just born, so I had a whole experience of actual human childbirth, and
that is something I will never experience, because the thought of that terrifies me. Yeah. So well done to both of you, because my Lord, some things just aren't meant to go certain ways. And
yeah, it was definitely an experience, because well, I'll probably say this, that I would not know how women with really narrow hips give birth, because there's a head fitting in between her legs and Yeah, you'd only think that women with wide hips. That's why that term in, childbearing hips. That's definitely said for a reason. The head
nah.
sit between a pair of legs was quite a sight, and yeah, a lot
Oh,
of
I
blood
could
and
imagine.
a lot of blood. And I'm actually surprised because I'm actually not. I'm pretty squirmish with like needles and blood. I think maybe it's my own blood because I guess once that kind of happened, I just kind of flicked a switch and just try to be supportive partner, I guess, and didn't freak out.
You had no choice in that situation. That was the start of something completely new. You had to start that off on a good foot.
Yeah, and even during labour, because in case we had a water birth, and she was just like had her head on the side of the tub like that, and I was just kind of off to the side, had my hands just like near her head, and then she went through like a contraction, and they were pretty painful at that stage, and she ended up biting my hand. And I was like,
you know what? You got to do what you got to do at the times.
And then there was like real, like she's just saying like all these things. Just I guess you just go through like a primal instinct kind of thing. Like instincts take over. Just like I can't even believe I said those things. Because she's a midwife herself, so she was saying like, yeah, and one of those things when you go through something like that and you know yourself how to do the job, you overthink it a little bit too much.
Yeah,
she went through like that. It was like an hour or hour and a half where it kind of stalled out a little bit. She's like, I'm thinking in my head too much, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I guess once you get through it and then once the process happens, it's coming out one way or the other. It's not going to stop.
Yeah. You don't get much say once it started.
So I guess from you this season, a bit disappointing on two fronts, from a team perspective and I guess from a personal perspective as well, not able to play the full game. ACL injury, which is unfortunate. So how did that, was it in the second quarter? Was it the second quarter, third quarter?
No, it was about 5 minutes into the game.
Oh shit! Yeah. I didn't even realize. Yeah. That's unfortunate. What happened?
Real quick.
Don't remember.
Hey, I don't even know. Just went up for a contest and sort of my body was trying to go forward, but I whacked into someone and just sort of didn't go forward the way I was hoping to. And then when I landed, just wasn't ready for the landing. And I guess from there, it's just everyone. It was exactly what everyone says about an ACL. You sort of hear this weird sound, you feel a couple of pops in your leg, and then all of a sudden it feels a bit better, and then it feels a whole lot worse again. And just, I remember I got to the sidelines and they were doing the test, and I was so embarrassed because I was like, I've just gone off for a cramp.
Oh, you thought you cramped?
I thought I cramped because my calf was sore and like my knee, when they were doing the tests, like it sort of just was moving fine. So I was so embarrassed and I was like, thank God they didn't get the stretcher. And I said to the doc, I said, like, do you reckon I'll get back out by half time? And this was in the first quarter. And he was like, nah. He was like, let's go down to the room. So I was like, all right, like they'll strap it up down in the rooms. Like, let's go. Tried to walk and couldn't really walk. And I was like, oh, maybe. But then got back to the rooms again and I felt fine again. So it was just this real weird motion. And yeah, then I said to the doc, come on, surely, like, it's first quarter, I'll get back out by half time. And he was like, sort of came in, did the test again. The physio came in, did the test. And I saw them both walk outside and I was just like, fuck. They're both seen if they felt the same thing. So doc came in, just sort of said, going to have to get scans, prepare for the worst. And yeah,
it was the worst.
Sort of history.
Was it just standard ACL? Wasn't the meniscus or anything like that?
No, I was really, I'm going to say really lucky in the term of knee injuries. I guess a bit lucky. Did a little bit of damage to my MCL, but it was nothing worth surgery or anything. That sort of heals itself in the time of looking after your ACL. So in terms of the surgery, just a clean ACL surgery. And yeah, sort of try and get on with it.
So is that classified as a non-contact or was it a contact because you had it?
Classified as a contact because of it was sort of in a pack situation.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. So you were saying you're 3 weeks post-op?
Yeah, 3 weeks post-op yesterday. It felt like 3 months. It's the longest time ever, sort of. I was real unlucky, got out of the hospital and got COVID pretty much straight after surgery as well. So I was stuck in bed, not really able to do anything, not able to get out of the house in that first week. just seemed like it went forever. But once I could sort of get out of the house and go back to the footy club and see the physio and stuff, started going a little bit quicker. But still sort of every day feels like it goes for 48 hours at the moment.
Oh, I can imagine that'd be the worst. So in terms of like rehab, is it just waiting for the swelling to come down now? You're not really doing any kind of exercises in terms of trying to get the knee extension range back, or is you just resting?
Yeah, no, that stuff sort of starts pretty much straight after surgery. So you have the first 24 hours to, I guess, in some way comes to terms with what your knee now feels like and try and rest it a little bit. But it's really important to try and get that extension and flexion. So pretty much from the start, you're just trying to straighten your knee, bend your knee in little ways. The exercises don't feel like exercises. It's literally just sort of trying to stand on your foot and push your knee back a little bit, or learn to sit on a chair and bend your knee a little bit, and they're your exercises. So you sort of go from full in-season training to doing that. And I've sort of I've moved on from those ones, and sort of now it's a little bit of, what do I do now? It's still, I guess, trying to straighten and bend it, but just a little bit further.
Yeah.
So to straighten it, it's stuff really getting your quad activated, learning to lift your leg up again, sort of moving your leg on a skateboard to get that bend a little bit further, towel slides, so sitting with a towel over your toes and sort of trying to pull your knee a little bit closer to you. So couple of little exercises, but yeah, at the moment a lot of it's just about learning to sort of walk, put a bit of pressure on it, trying to get it bending and extending. Yeah, that's about as fun as it is right now.
What's the size difference? Is it quite noticeable?
Yeah, before surgery I was really lucky. It wasn't didn't blow up too much. Now that I've sort of got up and got moving a little bit, I moved down to one crutch. It blows up a little bit more, but thankfully, compared to some of the other knees I've seen after ACL surgery, it's not too bad.
Nice.
In saying that, the knee is massive and the quad is non-existent, so it's the weirdest looking leg at the moment.
Now that you've had all that time off, COVID and all this sort of stuff, what are your go-to Netflix shows or Disney shows, or what else are there? Stan?
Yeah, I honestly do not have the attention span to watch movies or shows, and that's what's killed me. I reckon I watched one series in the last 3 weeks, and that was a series that had 5 episodes.
What was it?
And it's killed me. So I've done a lot of sort of colouring in, tried to do some reading, called Ryan's name about 600 times to try and get some form of entertainment, get him just to come in and have a conversation. Yeah, like I played a fair bit of PlayStation. We got a Nintendo 64, so chucking on Mario Kart.
Old school.
Yeah, but watching TV just
no good.
It doesn't do it for me. And if there's ever a time that I really need to be able to watch TV, it's probably now. But I got through it.
If you have Disney, I recommend the show Pam and Tommy. Have you heard of it?
No.
It's about Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee's how their sex tape kind of got leaked out, and you kind of followed their story from when they got together and when they got married and all that sort of stuff, the process. And it has Sebastian Stan, who played Bucky in I guess the Avengers and all that series. Seth Rogen, he plays the carpenter who was doing work in Tommy Lee's house, and Tommy Lee was I think he's just notoriously known as not a nice person towards other people, and he just kind of shafted him a little bit, and then Seth Rogen's character wanted to get back at him, and they ended up stealing a safe out of his room or wherever, back garage, and then in the safe was the sex tape, and then the whole story followed him and how he tried to get the sex tape out. So it's actually quite interesting, and it's pretty close.
Can you imagine waking up and your safe is gone, and the first thing you think is, "Fuck, they've got my sex tape."
The funniest thing that they didn't realise until ages. It was ages. He didn't realise his safe was missing because they wanted to get because they were having a baby. Pam and Tommy were having a baby, and they got the sonogram picture. And he goes, "I'm going to go put this picture in the safe." And then when he went to the safe, it wasn't there, and it was like, "Oh fuck!" I reckon it was a couple of months.
Timing.
Mm.
You're about to have a baby, and you think, "Fuck, my sex tape's getting leaked."
Yeah, and then this followed a whole fallout out of that, and because that was the dawn of the internet, and then that's how they were selling the videotape over the internet, and then it was and they were talking about how they're going to sue him, but like obviously freedom of speech, you can't really sue people over the internet because that wasn't really a real thing back then, and then ended up working out this guy ended up buying the rights to the tape and streaming it online so you can watch it online, which is quite wild.
Wow, he would have mega bucks right now.
And it's so one of the episodes you actually see Tommy Lee's piece on him, like, and it was just like prosthetic, and it was like they were talking about it was just one of the episodes he was just standing there naked in the mirror, and his piece was just like talking back to him. It was like so funny. You got to watch it.
All right, that's the sort of entertainment I can go with.
So from now, unfortunately, Collingwood knocked out of the finals. Sorry to hear.
Yeah, no good.
No good.
It wasn't ideal, that's for sure.
It was against the same team too, wasn't it? Brisbane. You lost to last year. Is that right?
Yeah, there's a bit of something building up with Brisbane. I don't know what it is, but our games are sort of, obviously, other than the last game, always nice and close, and they're a real competitive team, so it's always sort of exciting to come up against them. But then I guess on top of that, you put now 2 final series they've knocked us out of, and definitely looked a bit heated. I can't really say too much. I wasn't on the field, so I don't know, but sitting there and knowing what my teammates are like, I couldn't imagine it was getting quite heated. So that'll be nice to come up against them again one day whenever I sort of get back to playing. But it was a real disappointing end to the season. I think, the way our season ended in terms of all the girls sort of having COVID and having to postpone the final, flying over to Brisbane, it's definitely not ideal. And you also can't take anything away from Brisbane. Yeah. They're the reigning premiers. They're unbelievable. The way they play and their pack mentality is second to none. And, I guess it sort of just got to the point where we just couldn't take it to them at the end of that game. And again, it's hard. This is probably the first time I've even tried to talk about a game that I wasn't a part of. But I guess from being in the 4 walls and seeing the girls afterwards and sort of speaking to them, it really just sort of did, take a bit of a toll in the end. And Brisbane sort of were just far too good.
I can imagine that probably not the most ideal lead up in terms of preparation wise. And sometimes people say that, you have a couple of weeks off might freshen you up for the finals, but almost breaks your momentum going into something that's so important like that. If you try to understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when I guess sort of those weeks off are girls isolating and not able to really go for a run, or you sort of have a week off training. Something like COVID can really knock some people around. So sort of having to come straight back off that, again, jumping on a plane, going to Brisbane, where I think it was 28 degrees while the girls were playing. You can put all these things together. I think at the end of the day, Brisbane were the better team. And they're a team that are going to, I think, go right to the end again this season. I think that it's going to be a really exciting final series. And you can't take it away from them. They definitely have put their best foot forward all season. Our season's probably fluctuated a little bit, and those things, I guess, all add up.
I assume that you're a fan of AFLW and you watch all the games. Does it make it harder now now that you girls aren't in it, to watch the final 2 games, the prelim final games and then the grand final at the end?
To be honest, I probably every season, whether I'm sort of playing in it or not, once I'm out, I sort of want to switch off from footy. And it's not, usually people will do something for the grand final and you go, but you don't sort of sit down and watch the games the way that you watch the games when you're still sort of in in season. Partially, it's definitely I'm filthy that we're not in it and I'm not playing in those finals because that's what we all want. And the other part of it is sort of just wanting to switch off a little bit. The seasons do get tiring. That's also why we love it. But once you sort of get that opportunity to have a bit of a break, I really sort of try and make sure that I do have a break. And instead of sort of really watching and digesting games, you just sort of watch it like any other footy fan would.
Social type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why, because there's two sides of the coin that, sometimes people get together and they try to analyze what, after the games, or you go to the games that you should be in and analyze, but like we should be here and like try to fuel the fire for next year. But then obviously that you always have individuals in that group who are like, we need to process the whole situation differently and need to do like an individual approach. So if people need to go and watch the game just to kind of see what to do better next time or analyze the thing, they should do that. And then people who need a break, take a break and come back fresh next season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the teams, everybody does sort of an end of season review where you go and you're all together as a team and you go through your season and what the coach was, what we wanted to achieve at the start of the season and where we are now. So you do get the chance to review your season as a team and as individuals. And again, some people completely are like, fuck the AFLW after they are out of the final series or aren't sort of getting to compete, which is completely fair enough because we, spend 6 months, well, technically 6 months, but really your whole year trying to set yourself up to win a flag. And some people feed off seeing that and wanting to be that, and other people sort of feed off just internalizing it a little bit. So it's a real individual approach at the end of the day.
And last time we spoke a little bit about identity around football and being a football player and what that means to yourself and what it means to other people. Now that you missed the majority of the season and with your injury and not playing the finals now, have you had to struggle a little bit with watching the girls play and you have to sit on the sidelines and how that means to you and what that means to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I explained it to a friend the other day and I sort of said, you stop your whole life to try and be the best footballer and teammate that you can be. Like I've missed nephews' birthdays. You miss social gatherings. You try and sleep right. You eat right. You recover right. Everything is based around sort of being the best footballer you can be. And then all of a sudden that's sort of taken away for you and the league keeps going on and the girls keep playing footy and they keep training and they go away on the weekends to play. But your sort of, I guess, your world and your little aspect of football is completely taken away. And it is like, it's a lot to grapple with it. You try and fight some thoughts or feelings of sort of being disposable in the league that you give so much to. And it's all part of the process, unfortunately. Like injury is tough. Injuries that sort of leave you bedridden for a little bit are extra tough because you have a lot of time to sit and think. But I guess at the end of the day, like it's just about making sure you do have the support around you. But you can't deny that those thoughts sort of seep into your mind that, I've dedicated my whole life pretty much up until this point to try and be the best footballer and teammate I can be. And, then you see sort of the league continue to go on and your team keep going on and, you want them to do that because you still want them to succeed and get that end goal that you were trying so hard for at the start. But you can't deny the fact that it's really hard and it's challenging. And that's probably the side of injury that people don't speak about too much because it is really confronting and it can take you to very sort of strange and dark places that you probably haven't had to be in before. But again, that's part of the process and we're really lucky that we have so much support being in this league. You have your teammates, you've got your family, you've got the club psychologist, you've got the coaches, you've got a whole heap of support and it's just really important to sort of make sure that you rally, that those people that are rallying around you, you sort of don't shut them out because as much as they're the ones who are continuing on doing everything you want to do, they're also the ones who truly understand what it means to be a footballer and sort of what injuries mean in the bigger scheme of things.
Yeah, right. With, I guess, when you did your injury, you had a load of support, people sending you messages and that sort of stuff. Does they fill you with a bit of confidence knowing that you got all these people almost in your corner helping support you, like lift you up and get you through this period?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that first week, like, you don't realize how many people sort of care about what you're doing. I was definitely blown away by the amount of people. I think it really highlighted for me the AFLW community. Like, you have people who you never have played with, you've only sort of ever played against, and who you don't really know, but just sort of, that you're in the same environment, reaching out and sort of, it's not just, hey, mate, like, sorry to hear, hope you're all right, but people genuinely caring and wanting to make sure that you're supported. Even like I was blown away by the amount of people in the AFL men's space sort of that reached out, and past players who I sort of grew up idolizing. I had some people reach out that I just didn't really, I guess, think ever cared too much about what I was doing. You don't realize how many people you sort of do reach through the platform you have of being a footballer, which is really special and really amazing. And, it doesn't change the situation, and doesn't really make rehab any easier, but it does make you feel like what you're doing matters. And it does, I guess, when your mind goes to those darker places and you sort of start to feel like you are disposable, those little moments that you get through those people showing support just makes you realize, what you're doing is important and it does matter. And you're not just sort of a product in the bigger scheme of things, that emotions and, your impact is really prominent.
This is an interesting point you make. You kind of don't really hear a lot of people talk about it, like becoming a product of what the AFLW system is. Like, you're just one small fish in a really large pond and you can become disposable. But there's a side of it there's a lot of people that support everyone as a player and they love you no matter what. If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right, like, in the bigger scheme of things, business side of football, absolutely. You do become a product. You're like any other product. If it's not doing its job anymore, people get rid of it. And that's sort of the way anything works. You can think about that in the footy sense, or you can think about that in your everyday employment sense. If you're not doing your job, or you don't fit your company anymore, you're going to be moved on. But I guess the other side of things then is the impact that you make on people, and the people who enjoy watching you play, and all of that side of things. That's the side of it that really makes you understand that, yeah, okay, in some aspects you can be defined as a product or looked at as a product, but in the bigger scheme of things, you can't change the impact. Not change the impact. You can't hide away from the impact that you do make.
I guess it's also none more obvious than it's in the UFC. Like, you have a lot of fighters. Like, it's almost the only sport where it's the company is like is hiring, or you're subcontracting all the fighters in, and you dictate. They dictate the pay. They dictate when you fight. They do all this sort of stuff, and then they can get rid of you at a moment's notice. They can just cut your contract and be like, "See you later." And then, but like, if there's certain fighters like Bobby Green, Dan Hooker, all the guys who, almost sacrifice themselves for the company. They pay them back in other ways. Like, if they might take a short notice fight, they might take fights, when they're injured, or do things. They might sacrifice their performance, but the UFC will pay them back later, and maybe not cut them, or give them an extra performance bonus or something like that. Where, the thing is, it's your business. Like, if you're not making money for the company, they'll look after you. If not, then we'll see you later.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, like I said, like, it's very easy to see it in the sports scheme of things, but I think it's sort of the way that it is in every aspect of sort of your life and your being. You could take it right down to sort of your friendships or your relationships. Like, if it's not serving the way that you expect it to be served, that things change. And I think definitely for me, that's, if when you think of yourself as a product in football, you start to, I definitely start to close off a lot about the idea of it. But when you sort of just break it down and understand that that's sort of part of life and every day, it doesn't make it really daunting anymore to keep putting every aspect of yourself into football. Because, one day, yes, you're not going to play footy at the highest level, but that doesn't mean that you should like shut yourself off from it now.
In terms of your rehab process now, it's quite a lengthy time away on the sidelines. Do you, thinking about it from like a mental perspective, do you have like a plan in your head on how it's going to go, and then where it's kind of going to become challenging and what you're going to do when it gets challenging, or how you're going to approach it?
Yeah, I think for me, the big thing, and the one thing that I really, I guess I say look forward to, I'm not looking forward to any of it, truthfully, but the thing that sort of has helped me a lot is knowing that there is, I guess, a bit of a checklist and a bit of a process to follow. So I know what my next step is. I know what I'm working towards next time. I know right now my goal is to get myself off the crutches, and once I get myself off the crutches, I can tick that box and I can move on to the next thing. And, you sort of, there's a whole lot of things in between it, but you learn to walk, and then you learn to jog, and then you learn to change direction, and then you go into contact. So there's, I guess, a bit of a process. And just seeing that process for me, I'm a real visual person. So seeing that and being able to sort of check things off or visually see how far I've come and how far I've sort of got to go makes it a bit less scary. So that's sort of one thing that I've definitely put in place. But truthfully, these first few weeks is probably the slowest part. So I just sort of look forward to each week that I get to see the physio, and just, set week-long goals of every week I want to change up my exercises. I know I'm the sort of person who I get bored very easily. Like when we're speaking about TV shows before, like I just can't sit through things for the sake of it, sort of thing. Yep. So I've already had that conversation with the physio just about wanting to change things up regularly. Even if, the goal is to start jogging. But before jogging, I need to do, exercises that will help me get my knee drive, for example. Changing up that exercise so that I'm not doing the same thing for 3 weeks straight. Finding a different exercise to help me get my knee drive. Little things like that, because I know what I'm like as a person. So just trying to match that together with rehab is going to be really important for me. So I've definitely thought a bit about where the struggles are going to be already. And just trying to, I guess, minimize that. But in saying that, you're right, like it's a long rehab. There's a lot of things to do. There's a lot of hurdles to overcome, and there's going to be different challenges that pop up that I'm not ready for. But again, like I said, it's about just relying on that support you have around you. And I'm really lucky with the resources I have and just really utilizing them. And again, I say lucky, but it's not lucky. But I got Brie Davey, who's a month ahead of me, and I can sort of see her now, and she's walking around without crutches. And on the days where I think like, fuck, am I ever going to just be able to walk normal again? Then I go to the club and I see her, and it just makes me understand that it does get a bit better. And, a month in the bigger scheme of things isn't that long. So if she's walking around now and she's a month ahead of me, just makes me sort of, again, it's not about, just because she does something at 2 months post-surgery doesn't mean I'm going to do something at 2 months post-surgery, but just, I guess, that mental side of it, of understanding that, it does get there, and it does sort of, you do get back to normal at some stage, is definitely, I guess, what I just keep sort of thinking back to and reminding myself when I feel like I'm sort of just not progressing.
You said a little bit before that, you said you were not looking forward to any of it. Is that because you know that you do get bored kind of a little bit quicker than most people when you try to look for things to progress a bit earlier than others?
Yeah, I think for me it's just like, and something that I've always, since I've done it, I've said, I say it a lot, especially to Ryan, is, you know, I think I know this type of person and the type of athlete I am. I know, you know, you can come back, and I will come back bigger, better, faster, stronger. I'll know my body better, you know, all of that stuff. But it doesn't mean I want to. Like, I don't want to have to go through this process. That doesn't mean I'm not going to. But the truth is, like, I don't want to have to go through rehab. Like, I don't want to have to teach myself to run again. I don't want to go through the phase of looking like an awkward giraffe when I learn to run again. Like, I can't hide away from the fact I don't want to go through that stuff. But it's part of the process. And much like I don't want to get into a prelim final and lose. You don't want to do that stuff. It's part of the process, and it happens. And yes, I'll be bigger, better, faster, stronger, all of that stuff because of it. And I'll do the work, because that's the sort of person I am. You know, I'll do things, and I'll do things 110%. But part of what will drive me to do that is how much I don't want to do this, because I don't want to go through this stuff again.
That's why there's such like a, you know, like an athlete kind of mentality to go around it, because obviously you're saying you're going to have to learn how to run again, in that awkward phase of almost like you're humbling yourself, like you're going to have to learn how to run or walk and run again before you can actually pick up a ball and show off how good you are. Again, it's like the failures like makes you successful, makes you be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say all of that, and then in the same tone, I'll say, you know, you want to learn to love rehab. And truthfully, you're never going to learn to love it, but you're going to learn to embrace it.
Right.
And that's definitely, I'm definitely not at that stage yet. I get frustrated every time I do a exercise, because my exercise is lifting my leg. Like, my exercise used to be going and doing like a squat or going and running like a certain amount of Ks. And now, you know, I'm like, oh, I'm doing my exercises. I'm lifting my fucking leg. Like, you know, you sort of, you don't love that stuff, but you learn to embrace it, and you learn to celebrate the little wins. And I think, you know, once you get over this initial stage, those little celebrations and little wins come a little bit quicker, and they aren't so few and far between, that you do learn to sort of embrace it, and you learn that there are the positives in it. But, you know, it's about getting to that stage. And in saying that, you know, I think because we've been in the stage of the season where I just want to be out with the team, helping the team so badly, that it's probably been a bit more difficult. But now that the season's sort of finished, I can become a bit more selfish, I guess, in just focusing on myself and focusing on my rehab. And that's where I think I'll find that I'll start to embrace the challenges of it a little bit more.
That's a good point, because it happened so early that the whole season, you had the rest of the season to watch, and to almost be jealous and be like, oh, I want to be out there and help them in doing this and do structures or whatever, and that sort of stuff. Now that you're coming to the end of the season now, and you've got a lot more time now to not watch footy and to sit down and to do your rehab, have you thought of things to do, like little projects to do outside of the rehab space, so you can take your mind away, get your mind off of, I don't know, I guess if things are going slow and you're not kind of dwelling on like your rehab going so slow?
Yeah, I have a little bit. And to be honest, it changes every day. Like, one day I'm like, yeah, I'm going to like I'm going to like start a new course. And then the next day I'm like, nah, I'm going to go do coaching. And then I'm like, oh, I might like just focus on rehab. And I don't really know at the moment, I think, as well, because I sort of am still at the stage where, you know, I can't do too much by myself at the moment. Even, you know, to get my laptop from one room to another room, I sort of need help and stuff like that. So until I can really start doing a few things, I don't know what it will be, but I definitely will like find ways to utilize this time that I, you know, hopefully will never really have again, and haven't had for the last sort of 6 years. Like I said before, the little things like missing a nephew's birthday, or, you know, eating right all the time and stuff like that. I have the time now to sort of enjoy things in a different light, to still embrace and be around the footy environment, but spend a little bit more time focusing on me as an individual and who I am away from footy. You know, that's definitely one positive in all of this, is you get a chance to look at life, I guess, through a different lens for a little bit. And then once the season comes back, I'll definitely be getting around the girls. I don't know what my role will be, whether it'll be coaching or it'll be sort of just focusing on rehab, or it will be helping the new girls at the club. I'm sure I'll have a role, but it will definitely look different to what I've been used to the last 6 years. And there's also, I guess, it's taken me a long time, but to say that there is some enjoyment in that, in being able to sort of be around that footy environment, but focus on yourself a little bit more too. That's something that, I've never had the chance to really do since AFLW started. And again, it's not something I wished that I was ever in the position to do, but the reality of it is that now I am, and you find little silver linings when you really look for them.
And this season as well, you were part of the leadership group as well, was that correct? Yep.
Yeah, yep.
So I guess in terms of on-field leadership, wasn't really much to do since you're on the sidelines. What was like the kind of backroom stuff you had to, like, was there much of a change between going from a regular player to being in the leadership group in the kind of off-field space?
I've always been really big, like, I'm never going to change who I am based on sort of a position and a role. Mm-hmm. So I guess as well, I'd never really spent time on the sideline. I've never missed a game of AFLW footy until this year. So it was really difficult to understand what that was and what that looked like. And it was also really hard because we had a lot of games that were interstate. So after I did my knee, I didn't get the chance to go to another game because they were sort of all interstate, or the one home game we had after that, I'd just come out of surgery the day before. So it definitely looked very different for me because I didn't have the opportunity to be around the girls on game day, which is the most important day of the week. But it was just about, I guess, I had the girls that weren't selected for every game over at my house and watching the game and making sure we still built, that camaraderie and sending messages to the girls who, had a really good game or may not have had their best game, and just sort of, I guess, being a presence where I could be. But it was really challenging because firstly, I'd never watched one of my team's games from the sidelines, but it was watching it sort of from the couch every week, which was probably the hard part, and not really being there or being able to, I guess, have a real impact come game day in any sort of way, shape or form.
You mentioned earlier that you were doing some colouring in as part of just not being so bored. Don't tell me it was paint by numbers.
The girls did get me a paint by number. I get very frustrated very easy sometimes. And I was doing the colouring in and I picked the wrong colours and I was just completely off it. Like, I was like, I hate colouring in. I'm never doing it again. And then I got another colouring in book and it was like colour by number.
Yeah.
Which sort of took away the frustration of not being able to do things, because I kept getting annoyed that I couldn't get up to sharpen my own pencils. So I still have pencils that are in there that are just blunt because I'd already asked Ryan to do 100 things for me in a day. I'm not going to ask him to go sharpen a pencil for me.
Okay.
But yes, there were a couple of colour by numbers in a lot of that.
I don't know why that always ticks me off, or that, I don't know why. Maybe it's my little expression of freedom that why is someone telling me to paint the one here, like paint the one colour here and do something else over here?
Yeah, it was a real strange one as well. Like, I had to colour a wolf and like I was doing like purple, blue, but then they had me doing like green and yellow and like just didn't really make sense.
You can actually, there's an app you can do it, because I had Casey showing me, oh look, I did this paint by number one, and I was like, it's an app, you're not doing it like it's not real colours and like a painting, and kind of weird.
Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if I end up resorting to something like that, because there's a fair few blunt pencils in there and they're over in the corner and you can't reach them without a bit of chaos. So maybe I should just download the app.
You know what you should try? Have you gotten into puzzles?
Oh, don't even get me started on puzzles.
Why not?
I tried them over the COVID lockdowns and my God, like, if there's just a piece that I think goes somewhere that doesn't fit,
You-
the puzzle's definitely wrong. It's not me putting it in the wrong spot. It's definitely the puzzle. So, yeah, we have a very love-hate relationship.
My brother did one. He did one of the Star Wars, the Death Star. You know, the real big.
Yeah.
And the puzzle wasn't like he's a fanatic. Like 1,000 piece puzzles aren't hard enough for him anymore. So this Death Star one that he got, the pieces are like circular. There's no square edges or anything like that. So they're all like rounded and curved edges. And I was sitting there going, mate, how? And he did it within, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks. And it was
That is
nutsos.
ridiculous.
Yeah. And he was saying like
That
none of
is
it makes,
next level.
because usually with puzzles, there's like you can follow like a bit of do all the edges first and you kind of work your way in. But he was saying there's nothing, because all the Death Star was all the same color and it's black and it's grey. There's not like there's a process to follow. It was wild. But yeah.
That is unbelievable. That is like a proper talent.
And he's a weird mind like that. I don't know why. But I don't know if I asked you this last question, if you're on the podcast, the first time on the podcast, if you have dinner with 4 people, who would you choose if they were dead or alive? Did I ask that one before?
This changes. I reckon you did. And this changes every single week for me. Week, probably day. Like, it will really depend. Like, if I'm watching a TV show or like a sport, it'd be like, yeah, that person. So you can ask me it again. I'd say, you know what? Truthfully, it'd probably be at the moment like people who have come back from an ACL injury, because I look at Geordie Membry from our team and I remember watching her train the other week and I was just like, you're moving unbelievably. And it made me so excited about getting back to that stage. But like, I'd go like big dogs who have done it. Like, I want Saquon Barkley there, Odell Beckham Jr., I was going to say Tom Brady as well. So apparently I'm just going to an NFL dinner, but Tom Brady's coming along as well. And then I'll go I'll just throw someone random in there. I reckon I can't have a dinner with anyone without saying Justin Bieber. So he's coming as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
He's grown on me, Justin Bieber. Like, I obviously
I got tickets to his concert for my birthday and I am pumped. I was a proper believer when I was younger.
Oh, really? So you were all the way?
Oh, room covered in posters. I was
nice.
I was like the weirdest mix of kid, because I was on one side of my room was Justin Bieber posters, and on the other side were John Cena, Eddie Guerrero, Jeff Hardy, Rey Mysterio. So you came into my room and you never really knew which Brit you were going to get.
So you're a WWE star as well, or you're a fan?
Oh, big WWE fan. I honestly, a go-to story of mine when I was younger is that I tried to run away from home because mum and dad wouldn't buy me tickets to the wrestling, so I tried to walk to Sydney.
You walked to Sydney?
Pull your head in, Brit. I tried.
How far did you get? How far?
I walked for 20 minutes and then realised I wasn't going to get there in time. But I was this big hero that ran away from home to go watch the wrestling.
That's funny. I got a story. When I was you go through your little rebellion stage when you were younger. I don't know how old I was, but story has it that I decided I wanted to leave home, and Dad goes, "Yep, good, no worries. So pack your stuff and get ready, and I'll tell you what you're allowed to pack and what you're not allowed to pack. Because if you're going to leave home, you're going to have to take stuff that's yours, not what's given to you. You can take stuff that's been gifted to you, but if it's stuff that I paid for, me and your mother paid for, you can't take it because it's not yours, right?" So it ended up, I had all this stuff, and Dad goes, "You can't take that, you can't take this." So I had legit had the clothes on my back, and then maybe a couple of toys or whatever that I wanted to pack, and then I got out to the front of the house, walked out to the front curb, sat down, and I stayed there for 10 minutes, walked back inside after that. That's how far I made it. I realised that I wasn't.
We were real heroes when we were younger, weren't we?
Oh, God. So, yeah, I loved WWE too, and when I was younger, definitely Eddie Guerrero and Jeff Hardy. They were the bigs. Actually, I've been watching a few clips that coming up on my Facebook, and Jeff Hardy's been made a comeback. I think he's in AEW wrestling, which is good. He's always a fan
gift
favorite.
that keeps on giving, I tell you what.
John Cena, geez, he's a all-time classic. He doesn't age for some reason.
Yeah, no, I big wrestling fan.
So who's up there for you? Top 3
of all time? It was by far Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah.
He was my number 1. And and then it would have been Jeff Hardy, and then the third sort of always fluctuated based on sort of what was happening at the time.
This have you much of an Undertaker fan, or was that too scary for you?
No, yeah, I didn't mind him, but again, like it just sort of it depended.
Because he did a
could have been him, it could have been a Rey Mysterio. Loved Booker T.
Legend.
Like it really just fluctuated that third one.
Because he did a podcast, it would have been a year ago now, on the Joe Rogan Experience, and that was actually a really good podcast because I guess he pulled the curtain back a little bit and kind of explained the training and stuff behind it. And that was kind of my real first thing that I listened to from a WWE. I know there's podcasts that Stone Cold Steve Austin and Chris Jericho do, but I never really got into those. But the one that he did with that The Undertaker did with Joe Rogan was really cool because he spoke about the early days and how much Vince McMahon like put him up and how they kind of progressed his career. He spoke about that. Then he spoke about the training and how much of a toll it takes on the body and like how hard it got towards the later end of his career to train at a optimal kind of consistency and still be able to perform at a high level. It was really interesting. That's good.
Yeah, that sounds sick. I'll definitely look into that.
And he's done a few other things as well, but yeah, it's wild. And also to think to go back on big names who've done ACLs that people probably don't know is that Conor McGregor actually did an ACL.
Yeah, there's a documentary on YouTube about Conor doing his ACL that I watched it probably 2 days after I did it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did it, and then 14 weeks later won the championship or something. Yeah. Like unbelievable.
Yeah, because you had it injured originally, and then in training, I guess it popped again. He was doing some sort of grappling, and it popped. And he fought with like a torn ACL, which is pretty badass.
It's unbelievable.
People give him a hard time about it, and even that recent fight he had where he broke his leg, he still went in with a kind of, he's already had what did he have? He had fractures, or we had spinal fractures, which aren't complete fractures, but close enough to having a broken leg that he still fought on it.
Yeah, takes an unbelievable person. Like he's just next level.
And even to think though, as well, like he is so rich. Like he's, when you buy a yacht, he has an $11 million yacht, and people don't realize when you buy a yacht, people have to live on the yacht to keep it serviceable. Like you can't just leave a boat on the side there, and it just it kind of diminishes over time. He has to pay people to live on that boat for him to look after.
Unbelievable.
That's and then still to be able to get up and train and do all this stuff to want to keep fighting, which is kind of a
when
weird
he
mindset.
Really doesn't need to.
No, exactly. It's just I guess fighting is one of those sports where it takes a big ego to keep up there. Like he wants to stay relevant as long as possible to make as much money, I guess. So I guess he spoke about that a little bit in his documentary that he did, that he wants to make as much money that he doesn't know what to do with it all. I guess he said.
That'd be the dream, wouldn't it?
You follow UFC a little bit, don't you? You're a Rose Number Nunez fan.
Yes, big fan of Rose. Do love Rose.
She's got a fight coming up soon. I think Carla Esparza. I think maybe.
I've jumped on the Paddy bandwagon as well.
Oh, you're a Paddy Pimblett fan?
Everyone else has. Yeah, big Paddy fan.
Did you hear last week? He came out and he said that he made $12,000 to sign and then $12,000 to win. That was his purse, and he fought on the third. Yeah, that's what he said. That's how much money. So he made $24,000 before he got the bonus. So it was $24,000 contract to fight last fight.
Yeah, his energy is just like something different.
Oh, did you watch that card where they fought in London? Oh, that was wild. That was like a zoo.
Yeah, like just how? And to spend that much energy prior to and then go in and do like what he does, it's just unbelievable.
He's the next future star. He'll be, I reckon, maybe 2 or 3 years' time. Once give him a couple of ranked fights and probably fight 2 or 3 times a year. Yeah, he'll be in the third. He'll be fighting for a championship in the next year or so.
Yeah,
sorry, 100%. The 2 to 3 years. So
100%.
I think last time I gave you an Uncle Frank's question, we gave a bit of an update to the segment. It's you gave me a whole list of questions, and then
hit me.
It's in a hat, so I'll pick one. All written out.
Yeah, go on.
So I'll pick one for you. I'm shaking it up, so I'll put it up in camera view, so I'm not jipping you. Picking one. All right. All right. Ready?
Yep, hit me.
For what in life do you feel most grateful?
Oh. I'm expecting like another like who will you have dinner with question. Oh, I'm gonna at this point I'm probably just gonna say my like being able-bodied. Like not being able to walk around has killed me. So I'm going with just being able-bodied and being able to do my thing, being able to be independent.
That's definitely that's fair enough because I know it's like a freedom thing, right? If you if you get your freedom taken away from you, you don't really realize how much you appreciated having it before. Like, it'd be the same if you had a car accident and you couldn't drive for a while, or you just lose your independence a little bit. I guess, like you were saying, you had to get Ryan to get all the stuff for you, and you had to get your friend to make you coffee and do all this sort of stuff. You just kind of get a bit frustrated.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's definitely what I'd be going with at the moment.
And I'll pick another one out just because there's a few in there that I really want to ask you. So this one here is there something that you've dreamed of doing for a long time? Why do you want to do it, and why haven't you done it?
Yeah, there's a few. Definitely at the moment now that I can't move around, I realise how much stuff I want to do. One would definitely be going to Iceland. It's something that me and Ryan are planning, but I just don't know when we'll get there. And just haven't done it yet. Probably because of, I guess, timing and it's expensive. The other one is getting my scuba diving license. Like,
Ooh.
I love the ocean. And I just haven't done it to date. Again, it's weird, like how much stuff you put off just because.
Yeah.
But I got it as like a present for Christmas a couple of years ago, and now that I'm sort of going to be off my legs for a while, once I can sort of get back to swimming and stuff, that's going to be my first thing that I go to. So it's something I'm looking forward to.
So you've scuba dived before. How deep did you go?
I've only scuba dived before in the aquarium, and I went shark cage diving.
Oh, that's fucked. No way.
Yeah, no, it was sick. I love sharks. They're my favorite animal.
Really?
Yeah.
What about sharks?
I don't know, like they're just underrated. Like they're so cool.
Did you know there's no shark no great white shark that's stayed alive in captivity? Did you know that?
No, I didn't
because
know that.
supposedly it breaks their soul and they die.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a fact. So that's why you don't see SeaWorld and all that having sharks in the cages.
Yeah.
They can't do it.
Good. I'd be filthy if they did. Yeah, so I reckon they'd be my two. And it's so weird because, like, again, there's probably no reason that I haven't done them yet. Like, there's always sort of something else
there's
on.
always something. Life takes priority, You get stuck with doing things.
Exactly.
That's why.
But they're definitely two that now that I've sort of, again, like I said before, have a bit more time to sort of focus on me and do my own thing. They're probably, the two that I'll be looking to prioritise.
Would you get so obsessed with scuba diving that you do like the long breath hold, like you try to go free diving?
Yeah, that free dive, that freaks me out. Like, if you're under there and you run out of breath, like, you're fucked.
Yeah, but you can train on it. Those guys can train they hold their breath for up to like 3 minutes, and I guess you can cover a fair bit of ground.
I don't know about that. That just there's something about that just like freaks me out. Scuba diving, you've got like extra oxygen at least. Like if you run out of breath, there's no extra oxygen anywhere.
I was actually watching a documentary that was on Disney, and I'm not sure if you heard over in Thailand, maybe a couple years ago, there was a bunch of a soccer team. They went in the cave. They went just like a cave trek in one of the caves in Thailand, and then they had a real bad monsoon storm, and it flooded all the caves. And they got trapped inside the cave.
Oh, I reckon I've heard of that.
Yeah, and there was a documentary about how they ended up getting them out, and they had to get this world-class scuba diving team that were like outside, like one Australian guy and a couple of Americans and a few UK guys to go in and get them all out and do this sort of stuff. And the process they had to like put the kids to sleep because I didn't want them to freak out, and because they were saying that there was parts of the cave that was so tight that they had to go like single file through, and that to by the time they reached them, they'll use like most of their oxygen, and they had to bring in extra oxygen tanks because by the time they had to put the kids to sleep, they had to use oxygen. And there was a few that they had to, and a couple divers actually died trying to go in and reach them, which was crazy. Which is so obviously you got a lot of time. That's a documentary. You can
yeah, Disney seems to have a bit. I have to get on board the Disney bandwagon.
There's that one, and then there's another one too called 14 Peaks, which is on Netflix. And obviously, it was the 14 Peaks, the 14 highest or the tallest mountains in the world. And this guy did it without any oxygen. And he was like, he was a Nepalese man, so he's used to the high altitude.
Yeah.
But he did it all in, I want to say 8 months. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. I think he did it all within 8 months. So he did however many. There's a couple in Pakistan, there's one in China. Or else, obviously in Nepal, there's 3. I think he said he did 4 in 48 hours because they're all right next to each other, like Mount Everest, and there's a K1. There's a couple that are right next to each other. He did them all within 2 days.
That's insane.
Yeah, and then in the documentary too, there's a couple where he had to go back up to save someone.
What do you mean? Someone just got stuck?
Yeah, someone got stuck because they're obviously all on radio, and then I guess something would happen because you get kind of back, like once there's like a leader, and then there's a couple that get spread out the back, and I guess they lose track of people when they get rated up and say, oh, someone's missing, and I think because obviously he can go out without oxygen, and there's a couple there that he said that died, and he had to go up to save them. But yeah, it was wild.
Wow.
And there's a photo.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Put that on the.
Yeah, put that on the list.
Yeah, definitely put that on the list.
Because there might have been a photo, if you might have seen it, where like a year or so ago, where he was coming down from Mount Everest, and he took a photo of all the people going up, and there was like people that were like back to back. There was that many people waiting to get up to the summit of Mount Everest, and he took a photo, and it went worldwide.
Right, I'll have to look into it.
Look into that because he did another Rogan podcast with Rogan, so that was quite interesting as well. He talked about all the behind the scenes stuff and how he actually had to put the documentary together. It was a while because he ended up filming it. He filmed it all himself because obviously, if you have to be trained to be able to climb all those summits. So he just took all the footage. He did all the drone footage himself, did all of that. Then he had to go to all of these, these networks and pitch it to them, and no one wanted it. And then I guess Netflix was the one that was like, yeah, we'll put a director in, and then they cut all the footage down. And you're saying there's probably more footage you can get another whole movie out of.
That's insane. Yeah, I'll definitely add that to the list.
Yeah. It's like your fascination with the ocean. Mine is to be able to jump out of, like, be able to free dive, learn how to do it myself.
Yeah.
Like, I've never done skydiving.
Cool, but the thought of running out of oxygen terrifies me.
Yeah. I want to be able to do skydiving, free diving, like without someone on my back.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Just to be able to learn how to do it. But obviously, and even maybe be able to fly. Pilot's license as well would be pretty cool. But
that'd be sick.
That's too much time and you need too much money. You have to have your own plane and do all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you have to properly learn how to do that.
Have you thought about, well, I guess obviously we've been stuck in COVID, haven't been able to travel or anywhere. Have you ever been like, I want to, you said Iceland. What about Iceland that you wanted to go and travel? Is it just the glaciers and how pretty it all looks?
Yeah, it just looks sick. Like, I love waterfalls. They're like my thing. And there seems to be heaps of waterfalls over there and just heaps of stuff to do. And it's somewhere different. Like, it's not somewhere that sort of, I guess, everyone goes. So going and experiencing somewhere that's not sort of Bali or Thailand or New Zealand. It's just looks sick.
That's where Game of Thrones was filmed there a little bit, wasn't it?
Yeah. Apparently.
You a big Game of Thrones fan?
No, I haven't watched it, to be honest. It goes too long.
That's your thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, 8 seasons, and they're all like an hour-long episodes.
Yeah.
A huge struggle.
Struggle at the best of times.
But I don't know. But I reckon you could. It's pretty captivating. Like, I guess once you get into it, it's hard to kind of let go.
Yeah. Look, I'm not sold. I'm not confident.
Wow. So you're not even like a binge watcher. So you're not like on that binge watch nothing because you can't
Nah.
sit through and do it.
Nah. I just
That's
don't have
wild.
the attention span.
Oh, wow. All right. So, Brittany, I like to say you're a lifesaver for jumping in. Like, you jumped in on short notice, so thank you for doing that. Do you want to shout anyone out? Do you want to give any final messages to anyone listening in?
Ooh. Yeah, if Odell Beckham, Saquon, or Tom Brady are listening to this,
I doubt it.
hit me up for dinner.
Where would you want them to take you? That's
Mate, they probably know places that I don't even know exist. So,
what's your cuisine of choice?
Look, again, I'll just take anything. I like Chinese, and then I like butter chicken, love pizza.
As long as they're paying, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're not a fuss.
I want to be able to afford their food.
Right. That's awesome. So where can people follow you at on Instagram? Follow you
Britt Bonnici, Bonnici.
Wow, that's it. No underscore, no nothing.
Nah, just plain and simple.
I guess it's a pretty unique name.
Yeah. There's not many other people rocking it. That's for sure.
I think that's the same. My personal, like my Matt Deloyer one. I think that's just Matt Deloyer as well because that's obviously pretty unique.
Yeah, it's handy, and then just stops you from having to like try and work out what numbers to use and how to put things in. And
sucks for me though because maybe for you as well that people were like trying to spell my last name, like the midwives that last week they were like, "Oh, so what's his last name?" And like, "Oh, Deloyer," and they looked at me because I don't look Italian. And I look at Casey, she doesn't look Italian, and they're like, "Where does that come from?" I'm like, "Yeah, don't worry, I'm just I'm the ugly duckling or the bad egg." I like to say. Thanks, Mum and Dad. Thanks again, Britt. I appreciate your time for coming on the podcast and for the second time, and maybe hopefully again once you get back up and running, and I guess maybe might move back to Adelaide soon, so it'll be a lot closer. We can get you in and do one in person. Yeah,
that'd be sick. Now, thanks for having me on again. It was a nice way to sort of spend up an hour other than sitting here trying to decide what colouring to do.
Perfect. And you actually got me out of bed nice and early too because I've been bad for sleep-ins the last couple of days because it's been a nightmare trying to get some sleep during the night. So thanks for being on. All right. Cheers, legend, and thanks for everyone to listening on the podcast.